Close your eyes for a second. It is 2016. You are lying on your bed, or maybe you are sitting at a lunch table, or maybe you are on a bus with your earbuds in. Your phone screen is cracked, probably has been since October, and you genuinely do not care. You open Vine, and within 45 seconds, you have laughed 3 times. Not smiled, laughed, out loud, at content made by real people, posted for free, consumed in 6 seconds, and somehow more creative than anything a television network had produced in years. You did not know it then, nobody did, but you were living inside the last golden year, the last time the internet felt like it genuinely belonged to the people using it. The last time a meme could be born on a Tuesday and be dead by Friday, not because an algorithm buried it, but because the internet had already moved on to something better. The last time going outside with your phone felt like an adventure rather than an obligation. This is the story of that year, and this is the story of what we lost when it ended. To understand why 2016 was special, you have to understand what the internet actually looked like at the start of that year. And I mean really looked like, not just the aesthetics, but the feeling underneath the aesthetics. Twitter was still showing you tweets in chronological order. Every single one, in real time, from the people you chose to follow. That sounds like a small thing now, but it was profound. Your feed was yours. You curated it, you owned it, and it delivered exactly what you asked for. Nothing more, nothing less. If you followed 100 people, you saw those 100 people, in the order they spoke. Imagine that. Instagram was the same way. You opened it, and you saw what the people you followed had posted, newest first. A photo from your friend's camping trip at 7 in the morning. A sunset posted at 6:43 p.m. You saw it because you followed them. Simple, clean, honest. Snapchat had 150 million people using it every single day. 150 million. And it was generating 10 billion video views daily. Not because the algorithm was pushing content at people, because people were genuinely choosing to open it over and over again to see what their actual friends were actually doing in real life. It was the most humanly connected social platform that has ever existed, and we used it like it would last forever. And then there was Vine. 200 million people watching every single month, 6 seconds. No ads pre-rolled, no monetization pushing creators to make longer content to hit thresholds. Just pure distilled creativity. 6 seconds at a time. The constraint was the point. The constraint was the magic. Vine forced brilliance because there was no room for anything else. The internet in early 2016 was fast, chaotic, creative, and most importantly, it was horizontal. Nobody owned the conversation. Nobody could buy their way to the top of your feed. The best thing won. That was the deal. And for a few months more, that deal was still holding. The year started fast and it never really slowed down. On February 15, 2016, a 15-year-old in California named Josh Holtz posted a Vine of his friend Daniel wearing white Vans shoes. He said, quote, "Damn Daniel, back at it again with the white Vans." That's Quinton. The whole video. That is the entire creative output. It was retweeted over 350,000 times in 48 hours. Daniel and Josh went on Ellen. They received a lifetime supply of Vans. The internet found someone, loved them unconditionally for 72 hours, then gently released them back into the wild. That was peak 2016 internet. Harmless, joyful, completely inexplicable to anyone over 40, but February 2016 also gave us the first warning sign. Twitter announced it would be switching from a chronological timeline to a ranked algorithmic one. The response was immediate and volcanic. The hashtag #RipTwitter trended worldwide, which is genuinely funny in retrospect. People used Twitter to protest changes to Twitter that they feared would make Twitter unusable. The platform heard the backlash. They softened the rollout, but they did not stop it. The algorithm arrived anyway. It always does. Then came May 28th. The Cincinnati Zoo. A 4-year-old child fell into a gorilla enclosure. A 17-year-old silverback western lowland gorilla named Harambe was shot and killed to protect the child. The internet grieved in the only way it knew how in 2016, through memes. Within days, Harambe was everywhere. He was a symbol of something, though nobody could quite agree what. By summer, he was the unofficial mascot of the year itself. Dicks out for Harambe. Rest in power. The meme outlived the moment. It outlived the year. It is still alive today, which tells you something about how deeply 2016 lodged itself into the internet's long-term memory. And then July 6th happened, and the entire world went outside. Pokémon Go launched on July 6, 2016. By July 12, 6 days later, it had 21 million daily active users in the United States alone. By September 7th, it had been downloaded 500 million times. 500 million! Players collectively walked 8.7 billion kilometers. That is the equivalent of traveling from Earth to Pluto and back. Real people, real footsteps, real conversations between strangers who might never have spoken a single word to each other in any other context. I want you to sit with that for a moment. A phone game made the internet go outside. A phone game made strangers talk to each other. A phone game created more spontaneous human connection in a single summer than most social platforms have managed in a decade. People were gathering at parks at midnight. Libraries became raid locations. People were meeting their future spouses at Pokestops. It was the last time a piece of internet culture reached out through the screen and physically pulled people together. It has not happened since. I am not sure it ever will again. The summer of 2016 was a summer of physical challenges. The bottle flip. You know the one. A half-full water bottle thrown into the air, rotating, landing upright. It sounds like nothing. It felt like everything. Schools banned it. Teachers confiscated bottles. Compilation videos hit tens of millions of views. There was something almost meditative about it. The repetition, the failure, the one perfect land. It was an internet trend that required only water, gravity, and patience. Deeply, beautifully, stupidly human. July 27th gave us Arthur's Fist. The image of the children's cartoon character Arthur with a clenched fist. Our Bengsinata 4, so it's expressing a very particular kind of silent, seething frustration that words simply cannot capture. It became the universal language of low-stakes indignation. Your Wi-Fi drops right before the boss battle. Arthur's Fist. Someone eats your lunch from the office fridge. Arthur's Fist. You check the time and it is only 11 a.m. on a Monday. Arthur's Fist. The meme was elegant because it was true. October 9th brought us Ken Bone. During the second presidential debate, a man named Kenneth Bone asked a question about energy policy while wearing a red Izod sweater. That is it. That is the full biography of why the internet adopted him as a brief, beloved folk hero. In a year that was growing increasingly anxious and fractured, Ken Bone was a round, cozy, non-threatening man in a comfortable sweater, and we needed him desperately. October 26th launched the Mannequin Challenge. Groups of people freezing completely still while a camera moved through them to the song Black Beatles by Ray Sremmurd. Sports teams did it. Politicians did it. Celebrities did it. Michelle Obama did it in the White House. It was the last truly universal internet moment before the year collapsed into something else entirely. On November 6th, evil Kermit arrived. Kermit speaking to his hooded, darker self, the embodiment of every bad decision you have talked yourself into. Me. I should go to sleep. Me to me. Eat an entire pizza and watch 6 more episodes. It was perfectly timed for a moment when everyone was arguing with their own worst instincts, which, in November of 2016 was essentially everyone. And then October 27th, 2016, Twitter announced it was shutting down Vine. 200 million monthly viewers, creators who had built entire careers on 6-second clips, a format so unique, so compressed, so demanding of genuine creativity, that it had produced an entirely new kind of comedian, filmmaker, and performer. Gone. Twitter had never figured out how to monetize it properly. The creators had been asking for revenue sharing for years. Twitter said no, then said goodbye. Vine's actual shutdown came in January of 2017, but the death certificate was signed on October 27, 2016. What died with Vine was not just a platform. What died was a proof of concept. Vine had proven that creativity could not be bought, only cultivated. It had proven that constraints produce brilliance. It had proven that a community could build something genuinely new without a corporation engineering the outcome. When Vine died, every creative platform looked at what happened and learned the wrong lesson. They did not learn that you should invest in your creators. They learned that you should monetize faster and control harder. Instagram had already made its move. In June of 2016, the chronological feed died quietly. No countdown, no announcement on the app itself. You opened it one day, and the order of the world had changed. Posts you would have seen immediately were now buried because an algorithm had decided they were less engaging than an advertisement. You did not choose this. Nobody asked you. The feed that had been yours was now theirs. And it was optimized for one thing only: the time you spent inside the app. Twitter had done the same in February. And here is what made it insidious. The changes were invisible to most users. Your feed still looked like your feed, it still had the same profile pictures, the same text boxes, but the order had been rearranged by something that was not your taste, your history, or your relationships. It was rearranged by engagement, by heat, by conflict, because conflict kept you scrolling. The algorithm did not hate you, it was simply indifferent to everything except the number of seconds it could hold your attention. Oxford University named 2016's Word of the Year Post-Truth, relating to circumstances in which objective facts are less influential in shaping public opinion than appeals to emotion and personal belief. It was a clinical way of describing something the internet had been quietly manufacturing for years. The algorithmic feeds rewarded emotion over accuracy, heat over light, outrage over nuance. And in November of 2016, during one of the most consequential elections in modern history, that machinery hit full power. Meme culture, which had spent the entire year being warm and silly and communal, was conscripted into the culture war, and it never fully came back from that. Meanwhile, a Chinese app called musical.li had quietly reached 130 million registered users by the end of 2016. 40 million people using it every month, mostly teenagers. Lip-sync videos, dances, creative, short clips. Nobody in the mainstream internet conversation was paying close attention. That app would be acquired, merged, and reborn as TikTok, and TikTok would take every lesson from Vine's death. The creative short-form energy, the bottomless scroll, the young creator economy, and combine it with the most powerful recommendation algorithm ever pointed at a human brain. The successor to 2016 was already being built. It just did not look like a successor yet. It looked like something innocent. Here is what I think about when I think about 2016. I think about the last time the internet was genuinely surprised by itself. Every single meme we have talked about in this video, every single one, was born organically. Nobody in a marketing department decided that Harambe would become a symbol. Nobody A/B tested whether Arthur's fist was the right creative vehicle for the emotion of mild frustration. Nobody focus grouped Ken Bone. These things happen because real people on real platforms with real equal access to each other created them spontaneously, collectively, and freely. The internet was still a place where any idiot with a Vine account and a genuinely funny idea could reach 2 million people by Thursday. The internet after 2016 is not worse because the content is worse. Some of the content is extraordinary. The internet after 2016 is different because the power shifted. The platforms stopped being stages and became landlords. Creators stopped being contributors and became tenants. And the audience, you, me, everyone watching this, stopped being participants and became the product. Pokémon Go's best summer ever ended. The servers got better, the novelty faded, and the crowds dispersed. People went back inside. The parks went quiet. The strangers stopped talking to each other. And the app that had briefly made the entire world go outside together became just another game on just another phone. But for 6 weeks in the summer of 2016, something genuinely magical had happened. A piece of internet culture had reached through the screen and arranged human beings in physical space, together, smiling at each other over something small and shared and completely inconsequential. That is not nothing. That is, in fact, everything. They say 2026 is the new 2016, and I understand why people are saying that. The aesthetic is back. The energy feels similar. There are people on new platforms doing new things that feel free and chaotic and genuinely creative in a way that reminds you of something you cannot quite name. But here is the truth underneath the nostalgia. 2016 was not special because of the memes. It was not special because of Pokémon Go, or Vine, or Damn Daniel, or any individual thing. It was special because of who we were when we were inside it. We were people who still believed the internet was fundamentally ours. We had not yet fully learned that it was a product being sold back to us. We had not yet understood that the feed was a window that had become a mirror, and then become a leash. 2016 ended. The internet changed. And somewhere on a server that has long since been decommissioned, there are 6-second videos that nobody will ever watch again. Jokes that existed only in the moment they were made, for an audience that is now 10 years older, in a world that has learned to be much more careful about what it lets itself love for free. We were not careful, we loved it completely, and maybe that is exactly why we miss it so much.